It's like, well, which bad emotion do you want to feel? One's going to make you more money and one's not, and you're going to feel terrible anyway. So why not raise your prices to what you need it to be and work with somebody who can like help you process that emotion or see that you don't need to feel it anyway. Like maybe you can think differently about this pricing. But yeah, you're right. It stops us. It absolutely stops us. And that's the saddest thing, I think, for when I see women in business who just don't launch or don't progress because they fear rejection.
Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We will be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Deutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange. Sandra Connery is a former biomechanist turned software founder and mindset coach. She's the co-founder of Hey Marvelous Software and She Coaching. She has helped thousands of movement-based practitioners simplify their wellness business and set them on the path to 6 figures. She hosts a top-rated podcast, Wellness Creator Podcast, with her business partner and bestie, Jennifer Barcelos, and is one of the original podcasters for women and business. We're so lucky to have Sandy on the Pilates Exchange. I can't wait for this conversation. Welcome back, everyone, to the Pilates Exchange. It is my great honor. I'm so excited to invite Sandy Connery here to our podcast. She is someone that I greatly admire. She's just a woman of all sorts of different forces. So it is going to be a great conversation today. I'm sure of it. Sandy, we've known each other, I don't know if you know this, like 4.5 years already.
No, really.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, it feels longer because I feel like I know you so well and I can't even remember a time pre-Hannah. Like, was there a pre-Hannah time? I don't know. I thought I would have said like 6 years, but
I know.
anyway, it's
like
been wonderful to get to know you over the years.
a long, intense period of growth. And
Yeah, very.
I'm really thankful for that. Maybe so that our listeners kind of have an understanding of like how this relationship developed and kind of what you do. They've already heard a little bit about your bio, but Sandy, in your own words, do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sandy, and I am currently the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of Hey Marvelous, our software platform. You interviewed my business partner, Jenny Barcelos, a few months ago. So alongside the software, I also was doing a business coaching program, which you were part of for 4.5 years, apparently. And so in that sense, I really have had a lot of experience building a tech company with us both being female, which is always interesting. And Jenny talked about that, but also like coaching women in wellness who are building businesses, mostly online, sometimes hybrid, like you and Christian have, and have been able to see like a lot of things that people get stuck on, and been able to help coach them through with, business strategy, but also some mindset training that I've taken in the past. And yeah, so we recently just shut down that coaching program and now we offer DIY courses for that content, but we have stepped away from the coaching to focus on some other things that we want to do with the software side.
I'm so grateful that you're here because I think that, well, I know that people have been writing us and just really asking about the business side of things, the business side of online or brick and mortar and studio and stuff. Mostly our audience are Pilates teachers, movement teachers, yoga teachers in that area, the wellness area, which is exactly what your software system is beautiful. I think everyone that listens to this podcast has already seen it because they've been on our site. But the mindset of through the years working with you, the beauty of the mindset that you interweave
Mhm.
into all of your business coaching, even if it's on an on-demand program, because I've learned so much through that, not just through the coaching, but even in the on-demand area, there's a strong mindset component that's in everything. Can you tell me a little
Mhm.
bit
Mhm.
about that? Because I think this sets you guys apart from everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, so it happened kind of, what's the word, like innocently, I think. Like we were, we had built this company, like the software company we saw in the early days. It was primarily yoga teachers at that time come on, and they were just struggling and sort of flailing. And like they just didn't know what they were doing to build a list, to build an audience. They didn't know how to market. They didn't know how to write an email. And so we thought, oh, we know how to do that. So, because we just build our own company with those skills. So we started strategy, like business strategy teaching slash coaching. And then we would tell them all the things, do this, one, two, three, and they wouldn't do it. And we'd be like, why
Mm,
didn't they do that? Like, why didn't they send the 3 emails? I don't get it. And then Jenny said to me, you got to go become a mindset coach. That's what we really need here. It's like we can tell them the action steps, but they won't necessarily do it because there's something else happening in their brains. And this, keep in mind, we primarily coach women and Christian. And, like there's some funny things that go on inside our female brains. So I went and did that. And to sort of add those two angles to anybody's business situation, right? Because like we can say like Jenny's a brilliant strategist. She can come up with ideas like out of nowhere. And people are so excited. And then a week later, they're like, yeah, I didn't do that because I was really afraid that blah, 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 and they come up with all these excuses. And so that's when we have to kind of dip into the mindset. So yes, you need the action plan, but you also need to be able to examine what is happening with your thoughts, because what you think, your thoughts cause your feelings, as you've heard this 1,000 times. Your thoughts cause your feelings, and your feelings or your emotions are what cause you to take action or not take action. Right. So I will, if I'm super excited about this email, I will hit the damn send button. But if my thought is like, they're going to hate me and I'm sitting in fear, I'm not going to hit the send button. And so, how do we move someone from excitement to fear? Like that's what the mindset coaching is.
mm, mm. Yeah, it's turning that around from the, okay, I'm scared of doing this. I'm afraid of messing up. I'm worried what people are going to think. There's so many different thoughts that could be going on,
Mm-hmm.
and really I think the hard part is recognizing that. That is
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
why we can't act, right?
Great, because we will always blame something external. So if we are unaware of how our thoughts cause our actions or stop ourselves from taking action, we're always like, but the kids were sick, but my email list isn't big enough. My workshop needs a little more work or whatever. Like it's always external to us. That is the problem. Like I didn't do that because some other outside circumstance, right? But it's when we start to like examine, like ask deeper questions, why, and we can start to, the business owner, the typically female business owner, has some thoughts, has some ideas, has some bias, has some beliefs that are keeping her stuck in usually fear or anger or something, and that you can never take action from that place. And so, but you don't realize that until someone points it out or helps you see that.
I find that really interesting because especially in these spaces,
Mm-hmm.
it is mostly female dominated. So
Mm-hmm.
in yoga world, in the Pilates world, like as the majority of teachers, as far as I know, are
Yeah.
women. But I see that the men, love you
Mm-hmm.
all men, but the men are getting way more visibility. They
Mm-hmm.
have a lot more success financially in their business. And I think there's
Yeah.
something behind that, how we are holding ourselves back consciously, unconsciously, a little bit in this area. Do you feel the same,
Yeah.
Sandy?
Like times a million. I do think that we have a very unique vantage point to see that because we are women in tech, right?
Mm,
And the humility that women bring to their businesses is really, really harmful to them. I mean, like they just like, well, I don't want to say that they should do something. I don't want to announce that I'm the biggest or whatever, right? Like it's like just stay humble, stay nice, stay likable. And that's what hurts us. Where men, like if you've ever spent any time on X and in the tech space world, they're like, I just built the biggest AI chat box you've ever seen. And you're like, what? You know, you didn't. But they just, men in generally are so much more comfortable making some bigger claims, stating something fantastic, claiming to be something that maybe they're not quite, but people believe them. Right.
Mm.
And so an example would be when Jenny and I were in a tech accelerator when Hey Marvelous was first starting, we were the one of two female groups. We actually had revenue coming in, which none of the other tech startups, none, zero had revenue coming in, right? They were on an idea, literally on the back of a napkin, trying to figure out market share, clients, marketing, pricing, whatever, all the things, right? And here we had I had a business. It was like $30,000 at the time. It wasn't that much, but it was money for the software. And
Yeah.
we would watch these guys pitch, and you would have thought they had $1 million business, right? And it was like, wow, how do they say that so damn confidently? And we were
Yeah.
just like, we're just getting started. And, you know, we just like downplayed it. And it
Mm.
was like we didn't see it at the time, but in hindsight, we look back and all these like we always, you know, the tech dudes, sort of that image or that stereotype, man, it is
Oh, yeah.
true. And so sometimes we say to ourselves, like, what would a tech dude do right now? Oh, they'd just state it, they'd send it, they'd do it, they'd ask for it, they'd invite them, or whatever it is, right? Without hesitation, because they don't have this need or this like societal teaching that's like, be likable, be nice.
Mm.
They don't care, right? They do not care what other people think about them. But that has been taught deep, deep, deep into our psyches as women to be likable, to be the nice girl, to be the good girl.
And that becomes really hard when you're having a business. That becomes impossible actually, because there are always going to be people that don't like us, that they don't like what we do or what we
Mm-hmm.
offer. And that is actually a good thing. I think it's really great. Weed
Right.
out the
Yes.
people. Like if you don't
Mm-hmm.
like what I have to offer, this is like in our studio, we make sure that we fit those people in.
Mm-hmm.
They have an intro experience to make sure that they're a good fit. If they're not a good fit, we send them out. We want the people that
Happily.
love what
Right.
we have to
But
do.
that's an attitude and like those thoughts I want people who really love to be here is an advanced business thinker, which, you know, when you say it, it's super obvious, right? But some women who start Pilates, yoga, fitness, nutrition businesses, they have so many ideas. And I truly believe that so many of them are super talented teachers, you know, coaches, practitioners, great amount of talent that the world actually needs. And they can get so excited about what they want to achieve and what they want to build. And it's going to be different because, and they can tell you all the things, how wonderful their service is. And then they have to send an email or they have to set a price or they have to announce to the world what their business is called or whatever it may be. And they shut down because they're so afraid of what the repercussions will be, the judgment of others. And they may not know what those judgments are, right? But the mere thought that they may exist out in their audience or their family or their friends' minds is enough to thwart their business. And that's what frustrates me so much is that you don't want everyone to like you. Exactly what you just said, Hannah. Of course, you don't want everyone to like you. You only want the people who adore you. Like we use that for your email list. Like when people get really upset when someone unsubscribes, they just like are in bed for 4 days because someone rejected them. And that's what we always taught was like, you only want people on your list who are ecstatic to be there, which is what you're saying. I only want people to come into my studio who are ecstatic to be here. If you are not that, there are other teachers for you. Like peace, love, go, you know?
Yeah. And our last launch, just to give you ideas of that too, we had an online launch. It was a couple weeks ago for our Train the Trainers program, the last cohort
Mm-hmm.
of this year. And we have some great people that are going to join us. Super excited. And like 200 people, 300 people are no longer on our list. And I looked at Chris, I said, great. That is absolutely okay. They could join us
Yeah.
again in sometime in the future or not. For many reasons, it's a good thing that they're not right for us at this point. And
Right
that's
now.
okay. Right now,
Yes. Yeah. It
at this
makes your
point.
email list cheaper. It's
Sh-
fantastic.
That's also when I was like, oh, okay. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Save $50 there. But yeah, but I think, once we point that out, people are like, oh, yeah, I just didn't think of it that way, right? Like it's
Yeah.
cheaper. They don't want to be there. They're not going to buy your stuff. So that's okay. And also, like I always think about why did they churn? Maybe their mother just died and their kid is sick and they're just trying to like simplify, like there's 1,000 stories why they would unsubscribe for your list.
Yeah.
And they can always come back later when they're looking for Train the Trainer. Oh, yeah. And they can get right back on Hannah and Christian's list. They're not lost
Right.
forever, right? And if you do the numbers, like how many people you don't need, like, say you have a 10,000 or even 1,000 person list, you probably don't necessarily, 1,000 would be great, but like maybe you just need 50 to have like a good launch or 20. You don't
Yeah.
need 1,000. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like just I celebrate those people when they leave or when they say no to you. It's like, excellent.
Yeah. And it's just not right at that time. Even, when we're talking specifically about online business, but it's the
Hmm.
same thing
Yeah.
as being in the studio space, being in real life. We've had many people go through our studio. I mean, you know, the studio's been around for 10 years, so a lot of people. But if they leave I can't tell you how many people have come back and
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
okay, well, yeah, 5 years ago I was here and it just wasn't the right time. So if I had gotten sad every time someone didn't sign up,
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
well, oh yeah, I've been thinking about that. You told me this, 4 years ago, and I'm so excited to be here, and now's the right time. So we never
Yeah.
know how we're going to be touching people as far as their thing,
Yeah.
touching people along their lifeline, and them not being a right fit at that point is not an insult towards me, nor should I be very upset about this at all. It's just we're
Hmm.
not right for you at this point, and that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's like this idea of, you want to control everything and like everyone should stay on my list. But I think like I always love to think about it. Like I want our clients, our audience, or email list, whoever it is, to have their like give them the autonomy to decide, do you want to
Yeah.
be here or not? Right? It's not for me to decide. It is for them to decide whether they want to continue hearing from our newsletter or not. And it's just okay. But I like there's something sort of anonymous about these people on the list or these people that, maybe you haven't seen, but they have their own story and their own thoughts and their own relationship with your work and allow them to have that, right? You do your best work with in-person tours and the programs and the classes that you have in there and let them decide. And if you do the best work, there will always be an audience for you or always be new students for you to attract.
Sandy, I want to go into this idea because something years ago that was really helpful to me is a little bit playing on this idea is don't let them decide. And we were
Mhm.
specifically talking about pricing. And I think you said something that was really funny. Like, I don't know how you worded it exactly, but like get out of their wallets. Like they get to
Yeah.
decide
They get to
if
decide. Yeah.
they would like
If it's
to
expensive.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it
Yeah.
was so freeing. It was
Yeah.
really like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, and I just had this conversation with a private coaching client this week who she's increasing her prices. And she's like, I'm having a lot of drama about it. I'm having a lot of drama about it. And she's been in business for years. And I was so surprised that she was having this reaction. And I said, it was going from 99 to 150. What are you afraid of? Well, people are going to think that I'm here for the money. That was the fear. That was the actual thought. Like they, ambiguous, are going to think that I'm here for the money. And I said, well, why is that a problem? And that's like the magical question, right? Why is that a problem? She's like, I don't want them to think that about me. And it's like, okay,
Mm,
well, that's a little bit different, right? Because of course, even if you, again, I know we've said this a million times on the coaching calls, but if you had a membership that was $10, there are some people who are going to think, geez, She's in it for the money. That's super expensive. $10 a month. Are you kidding me? Right. And same if you had $100 or $200 a month, right? There's always going to be somebody who has a thought that's expensive, or who does she think she is charging that kind of money or whatever. And if we can switch that to like allow them to make their own decisions of what they want to pay for, allow them to decide, is that expensive or not, and be okay with their thoughts, because it's going to happen. They're going to have their own thoughts anyway. So we don't get to control that. But let them decide, is this expensive or is it high value? Let them decide that. But you decide your pricing based on, all the factors, like what are your costs? How much money do you want to make? Like you get to decide that. That is your choice. And they're going to have thoughts about you, and they're going to have thoughts about the price. But if you can just allow that to be, because there will equally be people who are like, holy crap, that's a good deal. But we don't spend any time on that, right? We're just like, it's expensive. Those people that we focus, and those are the people that we don't fear the people, we fear the judgment, and we fear what it's going to feel like to have that rejection or that opinion placed on us.
Mm-hmm. We cause ourselves so much unnecessary late nights and, like
Mm-hmm.
thinking about
Mm-hmm.
these types of
Mm-hmm.
things. And I do believe that that's one of those factors of like inaction, right? Like I think that's what holds us up.
Yeah.
And when we just can't make those decisions, it holds us back from making good
Mhm.
progress in our businesses, in our teaching businesses and going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Because I'll say this again, we fear the emotion, right? But
Mm.
the irony is like I don't want to feel judged. Like it's going to feel like shameful, or I'm going to feel rejected. Like I'm going to feel terrible, right? If people think that my price is too high. So I'm not going to raise my price, or I'm not going to announce my price because I don't want to feel that. But yet you sit here feeling angry and resentful that you're not making any money. And it's like, well, which bad emotion do you want to feel? One's going to make you more money and one's not, and you're going to feel terrible anyway. So why not raise your prices to what you need it to be and work with somebody who can like help you process that emotion, or see that you don't need to feel it anyway. Like maybe you can think differently about this pricing. But yeah, you're right. It stops us. It absolutely stops us. And that's the saddest thing, I think, for when I see women in business who just don't launch or don't progress because they fear rejection.
Mm. Yeah. When I started teaching, I felt underprepared and overwhelmed. I needed to learn how to plan my training so that it made sense, but I wasn't sure what was working and what wasn't. So many teacher training programs leave out the actual art and business of teaching. This is why we created Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers is designed to give you the tools you need to create a powerful learning environment for your students. Gain access to the vault of our collected knowledge where you can learn everything we have to teach you, whether you are a freelance teacher or a studio owner. Get constructive feedback on your teaching with actionable tools you can apply immediately. We can't wait to be part of your teaching journey and to help you grow in your business. Welcome to Train the Trainers.
There's something you brought up before we started recording, is this idea of permission. So I think it's also for women. I think we've coached a few men that have this, but they also want, and I still think this is like the good girl syndrome, like, tell me I'm doing it right. So I think I'm going to price it for $50. Like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it's like they want like the gold star check mark. Oh, good girl, go ahead, right? And I think for people who have been like yourself, who have been in business for a while, you don't need that permission anymore, because that's a very slow way to run a business. And it's a very painful, emotionally painful way. Like, well, what, we better check with Sandy and Jenny to see if they, it's like,
Yeah.
no, just go try it. You have your own permission, just go out there and experiment. And whether it's in person or online, you can play, right? Try a different package, try a different price, try something new, take it back, reverse it, change it, whatever. But you've got to be able to experiment, and you've got to be able to fail, and you've got to be able to hear no in order to succeed in business. If you just want to navigate the yeses and the good feelings, it's game over before you even start.
Well, and I think that's a mirror also into just teaching movement in general, right? Like you have to be able to try things out. Like you're going to get your cueing
Mm,
wrong. You're going to get a sequence wrong. You're going to not resonate with that person. Sometimes you're going to offend a person by the way you said something or the inflection of your voice or the look that you happen to have on your face on that day. Like there's so many things that are going on in that whole dialogue of
hmm.
teaching. And the point is that you got to get out there. You have to be in front of the people and do the thing. You have to be out there and putting yourself out there. And that's
So
the
do
same
new
thing.
teachers avoid teaching because of that?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
It gets really, the groups sometimes that we run into when we're coaching like newer teachers, it's the fear of getting things wrong. And
Right.
a lot of the times, like, we're known for creativity and all this
Hmm.
stuff. So, we give you permission to be as
Go
creative
and
as you
fail.
want. Go
Yeah.
in, go fail, try it out. And even within our classes, like, oh, I want to do this right. What's right? Just try it
Hmm.
out. See how it feels in your
Hmm.
body. And maybe it goes great. Maybe we need a little bit more practice, but
Hmm.
it's a total different mindset. And if we apply that into the business aspect of it, of the online business, brick and mortar, it doesn't really matter. It's all about that. Like, let's try it out. We don't
Yeah.
need permission from anyone. You know, we
Right.
can look for, which is different from, I think, like asking for coaching and knowledge from people that can do something better than you. I think that's a
Hmm.
different thing.
Hmm.
That's where there's,
Hmm.
brilliant coaching programs and online resources like the ones that you and Jenny have made. That's a
Yeah.
different thing, I feel.
Yeah, that's so interesting, the comparison to the teaching. But I still think like that all comes back to being raised in Western society as a young girl, and you were not to try things and fail. You are not to annoy people. You are not to, because we think if we like say a wrong cue, that people are going to be annoyed with us. Like, what kind of teacher are you? Right. And so all our social conditioning is like, don't do that. Don't do that. So in our brains, this is a real emergency. Like, this is a terrible thing. When we talk it out, like you and I are, it's like, oh, it's ridiculous. Just go do the thing and fail. Right. But and people go, yeah, 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 I'll go do the thing and fail. And they go to do it. There's like this deep, deep, deep conditioning. Like, don't annoy people. Don't make
Mhm.
a mistake. Right. And so it does take some time, some work to really undo that. And like
Mhm.
that voice that's kept you safe as a child, don't piss people off, be the good girl, be seen, don't be too loud, don't be too much, all of those things. The whole Barbie, America Ferrera, that whole speech is like all that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that kept you safe and liked as a young girl in school by teachers, parents, uncles, aunts. Like that kept you safe. And we just have to, as adults, say, look, Sandy, little girl Sandy, we don't need to think like that anymore. It's totally fine to walk into a class and say the wrong thing or flub a line or send an email and it's totally fine to do that. Like you are safe. And like thank you to that little girl who kept me safe. That part of my brain kept me safe, kept me growing up safely as a child. And I'm just going to thank her. But I'm an adult now with a really cool business, and this is where I'm going to go try things I've never done before, and there's going to be people who don't like it. Can I tell you a story about that?
Oh, yes. I love stories.
We just launched something new, and we hit the email Monday morning, and we sat there and we're like, okay, we're ready for the response. The first email that comes in was a little bit of hate mail.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was 4 lines. You are horrible humans. 4 words, I'm sorry. You are horrible humans.
Oh,
And there's a moment where it's like, let's shut it down. Let's just shut this whole thing down. Let's just quit. Let's sell. Let's get out or whatever, you know? And it's like, wait a second. We're not horrible human beings. It was just so weird. And like, I'm now at a place for like 10 minutes. I was super angry at this woman because I can't really imagine writing that to anybody, like anybody I would never say those words to.
yeah.
And she wasn't even a client. So I don't understand where this came from, but whatever, it came in. And then we just started laughing. And then we were celebrating because it's like, this is what it means when if you start getting some hate mail or some questionable,
Yeah.
messages back, DMs or whatever, it's like, all right, let's go. Like I'm kind
Yeah.
of ready, like to do the work we want, say what we want, be a little controversial. Like I'm ready and I'm okay. But it's this constant talking to myself, like you're
Yeah.
fine. You're going to be okay. This is just how it is in business. Horrible
It's so
human beings that we are.
horrible, right? Yeah. And isn't it so funny? Like, people, it's not funny, but people are more likely to send when they
Hmm.
have something negative to say, right? And so, like,
Yeah.
all the people, and like here, I thank goodness I get to see you right now and say, like, when I read that email, because I know exactly which one you're talking about, I woke Chris up from a nap and I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And like we had to go for a walk with our dog. And I'm talking about all the different things that we could do. This is incredible. This is just going to be a game changer for the wellness industry altogether. We're so excited to be on this spot. Like blah, 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 blah. Like Chris at the end was like, okay, all right, let's just walk our dog.
Stop.
I didn't get enough sleep on this thing. But what I didn't do was email you back right at that point because I was like, I don't want to bother them. There's so
Bother
many
her.
things
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
But like, isn't that so funny?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm. We knew. So just, I don't mean to be cryptic here. What we launched was a public marketplace so that all of our teachers and practitioners, coaches, instructors who are on Marvelous, I almost said Marvelous, they can publicly display their events on a public space. So Hannah and Christian can toggle on in their site, whatever, Monday, 11 a.m., Pilates mat class can now be on this public forum, on this public marketplace. We knew it solves a huge problem and we knew people were going to like it. Like I know. And we did get a couple messages, but the real message is like when people start posting, you're like, yes, right? It's working. We've got a long way to go. Like it's just like 3 days old. So we're super excited to keep this going. But I knew that people were happy. But yeah, it's so much easier. Like that's why I'm buying a new stove. The reviews I read are all terrible because that's if you love your stove, you're not going to go bother writing something good about your stove, right? So yeah, totally aware that the reviews and the comments are typically negative, but
yeah, it's always interesting how we let it affect us, or, we deal with this all the time on different
mhm.
platforms. Like, oh, I don't like the way you do this Pilates exercise. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
then don't
don't
do
watch
it.
it. I
Don't
know.
watch it. Don't watch our YouTube channel. Don't do the thing.
Yes, yeah.
You don't like my podcast? Don't listen to it.
I
Like,
know.
it's
No one's
fine.
forcing you
I
to.
am not forcing you to, but
Yeah,
just sort of rolling with it. And then also having that sense of humor, because that's sometimes the only way
yeah.
we can get through it. Mm.
Yeah, and to have other people, we did a podcast with Kelly Deals, and it was about like, I forget what it was called, but it was about like getting criticism, right? And like getting canceled and getting taken out, and like not just a negative comment, but like actually getting canceled because that happened to her. And my biggest takeaway from that conversation was like, have your community around you, right? Like,
Mm.
Jenny and I are partners and we have our team and we were like, the joke of the day was like, God, we're so horrible. Like we're just horrible people. And if you were by yourself, that would certainly sting and you don't have anyone to sort of talk it out and turn it into
Right.
something funny. So really whether you are a sole practitioner or not, like you do need that community around you who understands business and who understands these things that often come your way because they will, like 100%. All of us will get some kind of
Absolutely.
negative comment about our hair or the move or whatever. And we just need someone to like listen to us and tell us, you're fine. You're fine. Like you're not actually a horrible human being or,
Yeah.
you did do that move right or whatever it is. But like the community is so crucial,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's much strength in that, and to be able to turn that mindset around.
especially with business, right? Because not everyone will understand what you're going through, they'll be like, oh, they'll just sort of poo it away and you're like, no, this is really hard for me. Or I launched this thing and you're like, great. And you're like, no, I launched this thing. It was so much work. So
Yeah.
I think having a really good
Yeah.
crew around you who understand, who are also in business is really important.
There's probably psychologists that specialize just in entrepreneurs. They should be if there's
Mhm.
not.
Oh, yeah, there 100%.
Okay.
100% there are. Yes.
I
Yes.
could understand that they are
Yeah.
well needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a special niche for sure.
Your platform, mostly you could do a lot of hybrid stuff also within Hey Marvelous, but you excel light years above everyone else in the online space. And sometimes what I'm hearing from our teachers that are talking like, I'd like, I love what you guys are doing with your business. What should I do? It's already saturated. I can't start an
Mm.
online business. I don't know, Sandy. Like, I feel that online work is the great equalizer. I think that there's so much potential. Equalizer, I mean that there's still great inequality between women and men and what we're able to earn and, all of the obstacles that are in our path when we're,
Mhm.
yeah, all around. And I think that online business offers us a lot of opportunity, whether it's a mom or I don't know. Do you see where I'm going this?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally do. Yeah, I think it is the great equalizer, right? The flexibility is everything, right? Of course. You still have to do work. You still have to show up. You still have to work on the mindset. You still have to write and send emails all the time, but you can do it from wherever. And I still believe that is true. Life gets in the way. Kids are sick, partner, whatever, travel, like things get in the way. So it's not like easy. You still have to put in the work, but it's so much more accessible. And I mean, you can't even compare costs. Like you have a brick and mortar. I used to have a brick and mortar store. I paid $8,000 a month for rent. I had $500,000 in inventory. And like you can't like the numbers you can't like it's just black and white, right? Like it's so affordable and accessible to start an online business, and I don't agree at all that it is saturated. I want to buy a Mercedes car. I have a very specific Mercedes that I want to buy. I see them everywhere, right? If I want to see a Mercedes, I will see a Mercedes. So whatever
Okay.
you're thinking about, you're going to see. So if you're like online Pilates is everywhere, of course you're going to notice it all over the place. You're going to notice your algorithm is going to be filled with all the free YouTube videos. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And yeah, there's a lot out there. And I think the problem is if you were going to do like yoga 101 or I don't know, I don't know how the right words, Hannah, but like basic Pilates mat class. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to have a hard time with that. But if you can niche down, like what I love about what you guys do with the teacher training is it's not like become a Pilates teacher. It's like tap into your creative side and have fun with your classes. Nobody talks like that. That is going to set you apart from anybody else. So if someone is starting with Pilates or anything in fitness, wellness, and they're new, I would just encourage them to get down to a niche as soon as possible. We had someone on the
Mhm.
marketplace who the title, I don't know, it was like online yoga or something really generic. And then in the description, she was talking about all like how it's for cancer patients. I'm like, oh my God, you need to say that in the title because that makes you so different. Plus, everyone is different and comes to it. Like I could take a Pilates class with you and my teacher here in Calgary and have a very different but equally satisfying experience. And I'm going to learn something different from both of you.
Okay.
If you are drawn or called to do the work, then do the work. Like it will all fall into place, but don't fall into fear or buy this. Like, I think it's a cop out to say it's saturated. It just, no, it's not.
I agree with you. I think it's just one more thing that you're putting in your
Too
own
hard.
way. It's too hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's an easy way to talk yourself out of trying.
Yeah, and the other thing that reminded me of a lot of women will say, "Well, I'm just gonna try it and see what happens." And I think that is like death nail or whatever the expression is. Like your business is over before it even started because you can't, when you say like, I'm just going to start and I'll throw a couple classes up and see what happens. No, nothing will happen because you are waiting for people to come to you. It's like white knight syndrome where it's like the people will come or they're like, I'll wait for someone to come in and
Yeah.
save me. And I just don't think if you decide, I'm going to start an
Yeah.
online business. I'm going to go do this and I'm going to figure out step by step what I need to do. And I'm going to make a lot of mistakes and I'm going to screw up and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep going. And I keep, like, you guys are the best example of that, right? 2020 through, some punches our way and we all had to learn very, very, very quickly how to do all this. But the people who are going still are the ones who just decided firmly in their heart, I'm going to do this. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like, I'll see if people like it. No, you make stuff people like, or you go find the people that like your stuff. Like you don't just passively create a business. Anyway, little peeve of mine, little rant.
Yeah, but Sandy, I agree with you because I think it's taking yourself seriously. It's respecting
Mhm.
yourself and the work and the
Right.
passions
Yes.
that you have. And just sort of, maybe is not good enough for me. Like
Mhm.
and I know it's not good enough for our listeners also, because like for the people that are listening to this podcast, they love what they do. They're teachers
Yes.
inside and out. And
Yes.
so taking that passion seriously, if it's not just for yourself, if you need to lean on someone else, you're doing it also for your clients. You're doing it
Hmm.
for your future clients that
Yeah.
they want
Yes.
to learn from you. And I think there's great responsibility there to take it serious.
Yes. And I will say for those teachers who are like, I want to do this, I really do want to do this. One way to get started, and this is another reason that we built the marketplace, is that if you do become a Marvelous, here, I'm going to do some hard selling here. If you do become a Marvelous client, you have the choice to put a class, a workshop, whatever it is, onto the marketplace, and we will be driving traffic to that page. So that's a great kind of way to test it out. Your images have to be great, your copy's got to be great, but that's the work, right? Like stand out,
Yeah.
be unique, be different, be yourself. And you can test things that way. Like you could start to grow your audience with this new tool. Again, it's 3 days old, literally, as we're recording this. So we'll see where it goes. But it's an option as opposed to, it's a great way to build your list. It's an option than starting from 0, 0, 0.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's very few places that have such an easy start to it. Like everything is,
Mhm.
still hard work. Everything is hard work. We're
Yes,
not saying that,
yes.
but it's
Mm,
basically like serving the beginning on a platter, which is
right.
incredible. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad you, because I feel like that's what we try to do. We often just get called horrible things. I'm like, I can't figure out what they want. But that's one or two people. And then, 99.9% are super grateful. And, so anyway, thank you for saying that.
You're absolutely welcome. So, did you have if someone is thinking about starting a business
Mhm.
right now, whether it's, online, in person, doesn't matter. Do you have one piece of it? I know you have a lot of advice, but one piece of advice or one skill set that you think that they should lean into that would serve them well?
Honestly, copywriting, which you probably knew I was going to say that. I think like over the years, that is the one skill set. So maybe not leaning into it, but I think it's a new skill you need to learn, whether you do have brick and mortar, because you've got to name your classes. You've got to describe your classes. You've got to, write an email. Like you have to know how to write, even if you just use YouTube. You've got to title the video. You've got to write the thumbnail. You've got to write copywriting in business today is everything, is absolutely everything. So if that's not a skill that you have, there's a bazillion courses on it. There's a inbox on your computer that has thousands of emails, most likely, full of great copy. Like I'd start saving that stuff. And yeah, so I think that is the skill to have. Of course, you have to have the idea and you got to price it and you got to create the thing, but that's usually easy for people because they're so passionate. Like you say, they're teachers through and through and they know what their students need, or they've got an idea that no one else is doing. There's so much passion behind that.
Mhm.
You got to communicate that. You got to sell that. And that's why I think that we've really leaned, or I've really leaned into copywriting over the last couple of years.
I think that's brilliant advice. Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's some good stuff to learn. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast
Yeah,
today.
thank you. I just returned from holidays, so I'm not in business mode. So I hope that that was coherent and okay. But yeah, thank you, Hannah. It was lovely to see your face and to chat with you. Miss you
And
guys.
um, we'll have you hopefully back soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You can also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.